All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to give you another update on Errol Spence Jr. after the collapse of the Terrence Crawford fight and moves being made to get him to fight two of his mandatories, as a second mandatory is now petitioned to make that fight, and what the likelihood of that taking place is. Let's do that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to be back in the 147-pound division, speaking about Errol Spence Jr., who has now is being pressed into several mandatory bouts where the fighters have petitioned to order the sanctioning bodies to make Errol Spence Jr. fight them. This is in the aftermath of Terrence Crawford pulling out of the fight between the two, or the negotiations for the fight between the two, to fight David Avancian. Now, before I get into that though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're a supporter of the channel, thank you so much. Shout out to my guy, Herbert Johnson, Star 007, Terry Schmoot, all you guys out there, Blessed 365 and more. Thank you guys so much for continuing to come by the chat in the live stream, supporting in the chat. It is really what makes the channel go. And thank you to everybody that also supports in the super thanks, which you can see below this video. Now, let's get into this. But if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. So let's get into this. Obviously, a lot of disappointment about the Errol Spence Jr. Terrence Crawford bout not taking place. For myself, it's not so much that it's not taking place, it's all of the events leading up to it not taking place, which, you know, honestly is like really kind of like diehard YouTube boxing fan type of drama in large part. But when you look at the actual bout that's being made with David Avancian and Terrence Crawford, it's just a fight that is not very entertaining or very enticing. It's really like, it's a big letdown to go from that fight to David Avancian. But at the same time, you know, questions are coming up about who Errol Spence Jr. is going to match up with next. And we do have updates regarding that. You have two people who have petitioned sanctioning bodies now to have Errol Spence Jr. fight them. The first guy to do it in order of the submission of the petitions was Jaron Ennis, who is the IBF mandatory. He became the IBF mandatory when he beat Custio Clayton earlier this year to become the mandatory for the IBF. They fought a title eliminator. And then there's another fighter named Ennis, Stanionis. I'm please gonna kill his name, but Stanionis. I do believe Stanionis is a Lithuanian fighter who is managed by Shelly Finkel. Shelly Finkel is also the manager of Deontay Wilder. He was set to get a fight for the WBA super title from Yordenis Ugas. And originally, if you guys recall in the news, Yordenis Ugas was denied an application on two different occasions to fight Errol Spence Jr. And the WBC was trying to make sure that he fought the fight with Stanionis. And the reason that they did that was that they were trying to unify titles, trying to get rid of, you know, a WBA super title and a WBA regular title because of some sweat that they were getting from the the Association of Boxing Commissions, because they had so many titles out there. So they were trying to do a consolidation. So when Yordenis Ugas was fighting, I do believe he was supposed to fight Stanionis, and then he was allowed to fight as a replacement. He was allowed to fight Manny Pacquiao, and after that they wanted him to fight to fulfill his mandatory, but they allowed after the third request, the WBA allowed Errol and Ugas to fight. So now that mandatory is due, that unification fight between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford is falling apart. Manny Stanionis is now saying, hey, I want my mandatory shot. So that is Jaron Boots Ennis and Stanionis both applying with the IBF and the WBA respectively to have those mandatories enforced. So that's the logistics of it. Now, which one is going to take place? And if one is going to take place, which one would that be? First, let me address if it happens, who would it be? It would more than likely be Stanionis, because Stanionis was first in order as far as the time when the mandatory was ordered, right? So since Errol Spence, as soon as Errol Spence Jr. beat Yordenis Ugas, Stanionis was owed the fight. That was not the case with Jaron Ennis. With Jaron Ennis had to beat Custio Clayton to become the mandatory. And so that mandatory was not in place as long as Stanionis's was. Stanionis's was, his mandatory was in place pretty much from before Yordenis Ugas fought Manny Pacquiao in November. I do believe that was in November, late October or November of 2021. So that is Stanionis would come first. So for all these cats out here talking about Errol Spence Jr. would be ducking Jaron Ennis, Jaron Ennis is not in line for the Errol Spence Jr. fight next. He would come after that. Now, as far as whether or not Errol Spence Jr. would go in against either one of these guys, that's not guaranteed, because immediately following Errol Spence finding out that Terrence Crawford was negotiating for another fight, he hadn't responded to Errol and his team, hadn't been answering any questions for weeks. After having had that contract sent back to them for them to sign, Errol's like, hey, I don't know how long I'm going to be at that weight class. I may very well just move up in weight. I've been in this weight class for a decade, and it's not fun or easy to continue to make that weight. Now that he's 32 years old, he had already said before that he was going to move up to 154. He said he had 2 fights left. One with Yordenis Ugas, one with Terrence Crawford, and after that, he was gone. He was going to move up into the other weight class. And I have a suspicion that that's probably going to be what the case is, because there's really no reason for him to stay at 147 now that Terrence Crawford has decided to go get in the ring with somebody else. And I'm not buying any of this stuff about, it's just a tune-up for Terrence Crawford, and we can get right back in the negotiation table with Errol. Man, so we can wait another 5 months of back and forth. If you agree to it, just jump in there. There's no reason to tune up in between December and for a fight you agreed to in February, on February 4th. You need to fight December 10th. Get it, man. Please, that's 7 weeks away. I'm just not buying it. Regardless, Errol is more than likely going to move up to 154 pounds, and we'll see what goes on with Errol at 154 pounds. And then at 147 pounds, hey, let Stanionis fight Errol Spence. Let Stanionis and Jaron Ennis fight for that WBA belt, or let Stanionis and Keith Thurman fight for the WBA belt. Let Jaron Ennis fight Virgil Ortiz for the IBF belt. And get that stuff going. And if Terrence Crawford is going to stay in boxing, he's going to wind up being in a situation where he's going to have to fight Jaron Ennis, or he's going to have to fight Virgil Ortiz. But other than that, we'll see where Errol goes up to 154. That's what I think is most likely. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.